First of all, to our audience out there, our viewing audience, again, my name is LaDonna Cruse, and with me is Gigi Houchins. We are with Virginia Housing. Some of us may know us formerly as VHDA, but we are the state housing finance agency. And Ali, I think you're got control of the slides. Is that correct? If you want to go ahead to the next slide. Thanks. So we are the state housing finance agency, and we have had our mission for many years of simply to help Virginians obtain quality, affordable housing. And we do that by addressing many of the barriers or challenges, as you will hear some say. Allie, the next slide. I thought the song that you guys played was so appropriate, celebration, because that is what Virginia Housing is doing right now. We are celebrating 50 years in existence. We were created by the Commonwealth of Virginia, as you see here in 1972. And one of the things that we are always been so proud about is that we are a self-supporting group, nonprofit, and we raise funds through the state, through no monies from the state. I should say that no money from the state, but instead we raise money through the capital markets, and we give such a significant portion of our net revenues back to the community every year, and that's one of the things that I'm proud about being an associate with Virginia Housing. We do operate under a board of commissioners, and those board of commissioners are actually appointed by our governor, Virginia's governor, and then also our direct leadership comes from our CEO, Miss Susan Dewey. And Gigi, if you go to the next slide, yeah. Here's Susan, and she's been our leader for some time as well. She's setting, the path and the goals for us as associates, including what's really passionate for Susan right now is the challenges of affordable housing, as well as you see on this slide, the disproportionate impact on African Americans. And so we established what we call our Hope Initiative. And Hope Initiative is definitely addressing some effective solutions, but also, the importance of everybody working together. So we're so glad that we have all of you on the call so that we can kind of talk about all of these types of challenges and the disproportionate impacts and some solutions as well. Gigi, the next slide. So Virginia Housing has for some times now really been embarking on what we call a public-private partnership. And that public-private partnerships is many, because I know Gigi has heard me say several times it takes a village. And that's what we're doing at Virginia Housing. We're working with everyone, as you see listed here, from local governments, nonprofits, realtors, developers, and many others as well. The next slide, Ali. Thank you. So I'm going to do a little dive. I'm going to break it up a little bit. I'm going to talk about consumer resources first. So overcoming some of those obstacles. We tackle it from our partners, industry partner side of things, as well as consumers. So we have several consumer resources for both renters, for both buyers, as well as for existing homeowners. So we didn't leave them out as well. So let's take each one of them one at a time. So when we talk about renters and obstacles and resources, and if you guys want to go ahead and advance to the next slide, one of the things that we did at Virginia Housing some years ago, when everyone was talking homeownership, pre-purchase, we were like, but they've got to do right renting first, okay, and establish that history of paying rent on time and things of that nature, because that's going to carry over with them when they're ready to purchase. So we created what we called our How to Be a Successful Renter curriculum. And it initially started out as an ebook, but it was a very in-depth ebook, and we want to say it's consumer friendly as well, because what we didn't want to do was just recreate the Virginia Landlord Tenant Act. Okay, if you've ever taken that, that's a real hard read. And that's not what we wanted to do. We wanted something that the consumers can get some quick information about their rights as well as their responsibilities, some of the Virginia laws and regulations, misunderstandings, challenges, again, barriers, the Landlord Tenant Act, fair housing concerns, and I've always said in everything I do, scams. The scams are out there as well. So if you go to the next slide, Ali, we addressed all of those types of topics, but by creating 9 standalone chapters in this ebook. And as you can see here, we're talking about everything from if you're financially ready to rent, some concerns about credit, finding that right place, the application process, understanding the lease agreement, security deposits, again, rights and responsibilities, housekeeping, maintenance and repairs as well, and then that right way to terminate that lease agreement. My goal when we were creating this curriculum was really putting people on the right track in renting so that they can seamlessly go over into homeownership later and not then trying to buy a home and realize, oh, I messed up because I didn't pay my rent on time, or I didn't understand that I'm going to have to take over all these maintenance duties now that I'm the homeowner. So we wanted to try to make it as seamless as possible. Okay, next slide. So we took that curriculum, and from that we developed an ebook, which is, of course, this is a free downloadable ebook. A lot of what we do, now I'm going to say everything that we do for the consumers is free. Everything for the consumers is always free. And then we subsequently created what we called an online course. We took that same curriculum and we created an online course, and that again is free as well to anyone. In fact, it's so free that we have other states that actually send people to take our online course, but that's fine. We're offering it free. And what we did with the online course, because anytime you have anything that's not instructor led, it's got to be engaging. You've got to put that spin on it. So we have quizzes in there, and we have um, some different ways to make sure that you're understanding the content. And then there's the certificate of completion at the end too. So a lot of our partners like to use this online course as a way to gauge understanding of the rental, especially those that are entering the rental world for the first time and issuing a certificate of completion. The next slide, Allie. Thank you. So from there, we kind of spun off into some other rental resources. So we have some video tutorials out there with like some quick snippets of information, maybe 5 to 8 minutes. We have podcasts out there as well. All this information is free to you, our partners. If you want to use it in any existing um, rental education or homebuyer education, because Gigi will get a little bit more into homebuying in just a minute. If you want to use any of these resources in your programs, you are free to do so. Just contact us, as you see, as Renter Education at virginiahousing.com. We'll make sure that you get these resources and you are free to use them as you feel. One of the other things that we created years ago was finding a place to rent, which is our Virginia housing search site. So again, this is a free site, and what I really love about this is, one, Virginia Housing actually pays a third-party company to monitor this site. So we're kind of making sure we don't have slum landlords or anything like that on the site, or any scams. Okay. And two, it's free not only to those that are searching for a rental, but it's also free to landlords who would like to post that they have available units as well. Now, of course, those landlords are going to go to a little bit of a screening process, making sure that the unit is available, that it's not a scam. But we have hired a third-party company to do that as well. So what you're seeing on the screen is a little snippet of what that looks like when you go into that site. It's a filtering listing, so it's going to provide things like how many bedrooms, how many baths, um, and like again, they can filter it for the state by city or county or something of that nature. They can add, as many pictures. The landlords can add as many pictures as they like as well. Next slide. So again, when you guys hear me talk about these resources like this, the free ones for the consumers, they're also free to you. You know, that you can post them on your website or however you would like to do it as well. We also have, and when we talk about rental accessibility grants, so we have two of them. We have one we call our rental unit accessibility modification grant. Whew, mouthful, I know. Okay. But these grants are there to help individuals that may need things like, as you see, ramps and those tub cutouts, railings, or anything like that, anything really in ADA compliant. Right now, they can receive up to $8,000 for some of these, to help with these modifications. And we've made this easy as well by partnering with different um, what we call accepted agents throughout the state. And so they just contact them, and from there they'll do all the work with requesting the funds from Virginia Housing, giving them a list of contractors, a referral, because we've already vetted those contractors as well. So it's a great program, and this is for renters. Think about this. So all they need really is permission from their landlord. And many landlords are not going to say, no, I don't want you to put the money into making this unit accessible, because when they move out, they can advertise that they have an accessible unit. So they usually don't run into any problems with landlords saying no. Okay. And the other one that we have is called Granting Freedom. Now, that is still $8,000. This is for homeowners or tenants, okay, or renters. And this is, of course, for those that have sustained a service connected disability. Okay. But again, this is a grant. And the one thing you'll hear Gigi say later about our grants, we really mean grant. It's free money. There's usually no strings attached. You got to, some way or another, you got to pay it back later. It's just pretty free there. Okay. Now we do have a small portion of the housing choice vouchers that HUD administers. Of course, most of housing choice vouchers are administered through your local housing authorities, but there are some areas in Virginia, some small pockets of the state that don't have a housing authority. And so this is where Virginia Housing has stepped in. And again, we have partnered with some local agencies to be able to administer housing choice vouchers, and therefore housing choice vouchers are now available to even those in those small pockets of states where they normally would not have been eligible for housing choice vouchers. So we administer actually 19% of the state's housing choice vouchers that are administered through HUD. And then a rental assistance. Unfortunately, we have to take this slide out now because they have ended the rent relief program. Gigi will talk about it in just a few minutes. They were helping the renters for many, many years, but the owners need some assistance as well. So now they've actually replaced it with the mortgage relief program, and she'll talk about that in just a minute. Okay, right, Ali, I'm gonna stop right here just to see if there's any questions, because at this time I believe I'm gonna transfer it over to Gigi.
That was great information, LaDonna. Thank you for sharing your knowledge on easy access and options for renters in our communities. We're going to take a quick second and see if anyone has any questions before Gigi shares her information. If you have a question, feel free to raise your hand or drop it in the chat, but we'll give it a couple seconds before we transition.
And if you guys think of anything later, I'm not going anywhere, so I'll be here toward the end as well.
All right, Gigi, I don't see any questions, so we'll go ahead and bring it to the virtual stage.
All right. Thank you, Ali. I am up. Well, it is 7:21, and I am going to have to admit at 7 o'clock, I was like, oh, but when I heard that song, Celebrate, oh my goodness, it gave me that energy to keep going. I think I can go for another 8 hours after hearing that song. So great song choice to get the meeting started, Ali. So LaDonna went over overcoming obstacles and resources for renters. So I'm going to speak on overcoming obstacles and what resources does Virginia Housing have to offer for home buyers? Next slide, please. So as LaDonna mentioned, she talked about the wonderful resources and the curriculum that we have for renters. And as you all probably know, if we have majority agents on the phone, we offer a home buyer education curriculum that is HUD approved. And I look at it that that's a resource, and that's also an obstacle for a first-time home buyer because they need to be informed. You might have a home buyer who does not know where to start. You know, who do I need to talk to? How do I get this process started in reference in order to purchase a home? So in our home buyer education curriculum that is HUD approved, the topics that we cover is managing your money. You might have someone says, I don't know, am I ready to purchase a home at this time? So we have topics that include manage your money, credit, is my credit good, bad? Do I need to improve it? What do I need to do? Where can you direct me to improve that credit? Lenders, mortgages, and the loan process. What is this whole process about purchasing a house? You know, what's the difference between a bank and a mortgage company? Who should I go to? Partners working with the real estate agent. Who is a real estate agent? Should I go to the real estate agent first? Should I go to my lender first? So that's what we go over in detail in the curriculum about that. What's the law? Fair Virginia housing laws. We go over what income is acceptable. What the rights that what rights people have with purchasing a house. All you need to know about the home inspection. Do I need to order a home inspection? Is it really necessary? I know currently in today's market, some home buyers think I don't need that home inspection. I just want my offer to be accepted. And the final step to home ownership, which is loan closing. Okay, I'm at the end. What should I expect at the home closing? And you own a home. Now what? What do I do now? So we cover all of those topics in our HUD approved curriculum, which is our home buyer education course, which is a free course as well. And everyone loves free. Next slide, please, Allie. In the curriculum, we also give the consumers tips and alerts, give them examples of what type of forms they should expect. We give them an example, I believe, of a credit report, of what a credit report looks like as well. We give them links in order to, if they need to, links to check their credit to annualcreditreport.com, freeannualcreditreport.com, gives them forms, quizzes, and we also provide some type of a budget form of where they can do their, I like to say, a spending plan of how they can get their spending right, to make sure that they're not going into that house poor. And after they finish that curriculum, they get a certificate of completion. And this curriculum, the home buyer education free course, is needed in order for the home buyer to get any of Virginia Housing first mortgage programs. But even if they're not ready at this time to purchase a house, then I still recommend our consumers to take this home buyer education course. Next slide. So the course that we provide the course in person. If someone doesn't want to take the course online, they can definitely sign up on our website to take the course in person. It's approximately 6.5 hours to take the course, and it's taught by housing professionals like you. I know there's some agents on the call that are qualified. Is that right, LaDonna? Qualified, not certified. Qualified trainers. So you are the ones that are teaching this course along with your partners, your lenders, your home inspectors, your closers. So a lot of our consumers rather take the course because it gives them the opportunity to be in person with the professionals to ask questions. So if you're not a trainer yet, hey, this is a perfect opportunity to go on our website to sign up for Train the Trainer. And if they cannot get that course in person, we also offer the course online, and they can take this course at any time at their own leisure. It's an 8 to 10 hour course. It's self-paced. So if you have those consumers that are tech savvy, it is better for them to take that course online as opposed to in person. So we do have options, and we also offer it in Spanish. Next slide. So who is eligible for a Virginia housing loan? So after we inform them of what they need to do, and if they feel that they're ready, willing, and able, and they want to move to that next step to be a first-time home buyer, who is eligible? So at Virginia Housing, to do a Virginia housing loan, they must be a first-time home buyer. And we define a first-time home buyer, anyone who has not owned a house within the last 3 years as their primary residence. So that is a first-time home buyer. That's how Virginia Housing defines it. And that property must be their primary residence, and they must occupy that property. And we also have maximum household income sales prices based on the city or county that they live in. Next slide. So this is just a snippet of our maximum gross household income limits that we have for the state of Virginia, and it is And I know some of you are probably familiar with this grid. And what I did was I highlighted the Hampton Roads area. So as you can see, based on our maximum gross household income limit and our sales price limit, it's a pretty good amount for three or more people. If they're looking to get up to 100% financing with a Virginia housing loan, the maximum household income limit is 105,000. So, and a little birdie did tell me, and I don't know what the date is that we're looking to increase those income limits. So please, please look out for increased income limits sometime in the near future. Next slide. So what programs does Virginia Housing have to offer? We offer the same programs that Tidewater Home Funding offer. Tidewater Home Funding is one of our approved lenders, and I love partnering with them. And as you can see, we offer FHA, USDA, VA loans, and conventional products. These are our first mortgage products, the same type of products that Tidewater Home Funding would offer, but these are Virginia housing products. And and the reason why your buyer would want to do a Virginia housing loan is because we're going to provide them up to 100% financing. That means that they don't have the capability to provide, if they don't have those funds for down payment, then Virginia Housing is going to provide them that. We can provide them that down payment assistance in the form of a plus second mortgage, which means they can get up to a 5% second. And out of that 5% second, 1.5% can be used for closing costs. And I know in today's market, sellers aren't giving closing costs. So we're able to assist them with Virginia Housing if the borrower is eligible. 96% of our first mortgages receive some type of down payment and closing cost assistance. And one of our number one closing down payment assistance programs is our plus second mortgage. Next slide, please. So the other specialty programs that we offer are grants. I know LaDonna mentioned grants earlier, of the accessibility grant, which is free. Well, we offer free grants in the home ownership department as well. And this is free grants that can help with down payment assistance as well as closing cost assistance. For a down payment assistance grant, we can give the borrower up to a 2.5% DPA grant. It's free. The borrower does not have to pay it back. There's no forgivable period. So I always hear, well, if they don't have the money, then they can use that money. Well, even if they do have the money, let them use that money to, they might need it for home inspection. They might need it for, I know now with the market, the sellers are offering more than the appraised value. So we do allow that gap in pricing, home sales price with Virginia housing loans. So that money that they were going to use for down payment, they can use that for that as well. So they can use that money for other needs as opposed to down payment assistance grant. And we offer the closing cost assistance grant only with our VA and USDA loans. And another specialty program that we offer at Virginia Housing is our mortgage credit certificate, which is a dollar for dollar 10% credit against your federal tax income. So the home buyers that when they're start paying that mortgage, they're paying interest, and 10% of that interest they can use as a tax credit every year they file their taxes for the life of the mortgage, as long as they live in that house as their primary residence. They can only get this MCC with Virginia Housing, and 90% of all of our lenders, if the borrower is getting a first mortgage, they're going to combine that first mortgage with an MCC. And the last one is SPARC. SPARC, I love SPARC, especially all of my lenders love SPARC. All of my agents love SPARC probably around this time, because what are we hearing? High rates, high interest rates. Where else can you go and someone's going to offer you a 1% rate reduction in the state of Virginia? 1% rate reduction. So at Virginia Housing, that's what we're offering. SPARC is sponsoring partnerships and revitalizing communities. We allocate funds to nonprofit housing agencies every year. They apply for a grant funds from our net revenues, from our reach funds we give to these housing agencies, nonprofit housing agencies, and we provide them, they apply for them, we approve them. And actually this time of year, we're in the midst of approving those SPARC applications at this time. So I know in Hampton Roads, we have a slew of agencies that have applied for these funds. And as an agent or as a consumer, all you have to do is send your your buyer to that agency to see if they're eligible for that 1% rate reduction. So I know you're wondering, how does that 1% rate reduction work? Well, first, the first mortgage must be a Virginia housing loan, and they must go with an approved Virginia housing lender. And if the Virginia housing interest rate is 5%, then they're going to receive a 1% rate reduction. That means that final interest rate would be 4%. a 4% interest rate. And you know home buyers need that. So that is how Virginia Housing, we're really trying to find ways of how we can help our first-time home buyers in Virginia. And this is one way we're doing by offering these SPARC funds. I do know in Hampton Roads this year, we had about 6 agencies that applied for SPARC. So you're going to have plenty to choose from this year. Next slide, please. So let's talk about homeowners. So, at homeownership department, we help our buyers, but we do service the loans with Virginia Housing. So we don't sell those loans. That's one of our benefits with Virginia Housing. We service all of our loans. So with that, we try to overcome obstacles for our homeowners, and we also provide them resources. Next slide. So once they become a homeowner, we're still holding their hand. We're still helping them. They still need assistance. So we offer post-purchase video tutorials for our new homeowners that goes over making sure they're making smart financial decisions, how to create a budget. They still have to create a budget when you're in that home. I like to call it a spending plan. Home maintenance. Okay, they're not going to have that landlord anymore. How do I maintain this home? Getting to know your escrow account. What is this escrow account? My mortgage is going up. Why is my mortgage going up? Why am I getting a credit from Virginia Housing? Because of my escrow account. So we go over that. And refinancing. When is the best time for them to refinance? Next slide. And our mortgage assistance program. Our mortgage assistance program, we did have the rental relief program that ended, I believe, in April. I believe the rental relief program ended in April. The mortgage relief program is a program provided by Virginia Housing. We don't administer it. We do have 4 satellite offices that do administer this program. And what is it? It provides eligible homeowners assistance with their mortgage if they're behind to prevent them going into foreclosure. We also provide assistance for homeowners who are behind on their condo dues, if they're behind on their homeowners insurance, and they do not have to be a Virginia Housing client. This is available for all residents of Virginia, As of April, actually, in the state of Virginia, we had approximately 6,300 applicants that submitted an application for the mortgage relief program. So, with the agents on the call, if you have existing clients, existing buyers that purchased their house and they've had some issues due to the pandemic, then look, and they live in Virginia, of course they live in Virginia because you just did they're your client, then let them know about this mortgage assistance program. It's a great relief program. They actually increased the assistance amount to $40,000. $40,000. That's a lot. And I also believe that Virginia is one of the model states that have done an amazing job with the mortgage relief program. So it's a great relief program. It's a great program that we have in the state of Virginia. So if you do know anyone that needs an additional assistance with with mortgage, if they to prevent them from going into foreclosure, please provide them this information. Next slide. All right. Okay. This is the time for Q&A.
It is, and Allie, if you don't mind, because I can pose these questions to Gigi. Gigi, one of the questions that we have, and make sure, is it possible to combine a couple of the programs on a client? And it was where you were talking about MCC and SPARC and everything like that. So.
Yes, we can. We used to call that the loan combo. You can get a Virginia Housing First Mortgage with a Virginia Housing DPA grant or a plus second mortgage and get the mortgage credit certificate and get SPARC. So the borrower can get a 1% rate reduction, down payment assistance grant, and the MCC. And also, if you know of any agencies out there that provide any additional down payment assistance, you can layer that with a Virginia Housing First Mortgage along with our down payment assistance or plus second mortgage. So so you want to make sure that your client is going to get the more for their buck.
Exactly. And that includes the closing cost assistance, where really that is more so for our military.
Yes.
As you know, if they're using a VA loan, they really don't need down payment, but they still need closing costs. So that's where we design the closing cost assistance grant.
That's okay.
Correct. And then the question was, is there a limit to the number one client can use on one purchase?
On one purchase, there's not a limit, but there is a minimum loan to value. So if you're going to get a Virginia Housing First Mortgage and combine it with our DPA or plus second mortgage and if any other outside assistance, the LTV cannot go below 90%.
Okay. Well, that's the only questions I saw in the chat. But you guys keep them coming.
If you got a question, guys, don't be shy. Raise your hand or drop it in the chat. We have Gigi and LaDonna, two of the great housing organization experts in our area, here to help. So if you have a question, they're more than willing to help assist.
And Gigi, you were mentioning if were there some qualified trainers on this call, and I kind of scrolled through there and I saw my qualified trainers. Yeah. So I wanted to say a shout out to Karen and some of the others that I see there. They're doing great work giving back to the community by providing them homebuyer education. So I wanted to thank you guys.
And I also want to mention too, I get this question from agents all the time. My sellers don't want to do a Virginia housing loan. My sellers are, they'd rather do someone that's going to do a cash offer or someone else is going to do a regular program. This is what you can tell your agents. If my client, if this buyer is going through Virginia housing, we know those down payment funds are certified. We don't run out of funds at Virginia housing. We haven't had any problems with running out of funds. So those funds are certified. So as I mentioned earlier, those additional funds that borrower was planning to use for down payment or closing costs, they can use that money. They have other money freed up. So that's one way to sell them. They don't have to. I know now agents are asking for, please verify funds. Let me see this bank statement. Tell the sellers, go to Virginia Housing website. We offer free grants, and we offer a plus second mortgage that we don't run out of. I hate to brag, but it's the truth.
And one of the reasons why we're not running out of it, because again, guys, we're not operating on taxpayer dollars. Okay, these are Virginia housing net revenues that we've decided that we want to continue and use our own funds, no state funds, no federal funds, in order to get back and make homeownership more affordable.
Speaking of federal, we do have a question in the chat. Are you hearing of any housing tax credit coming from DC or the current administration?
I'll say that's hard for us. We've got so much going on at Virginia housing, and we're overseeing Virginia that we typically, we're not keeping up with other states a lot of times and what they have going. And especially because that state could change. And I can say that not all state housing finance agencies are like Virginia Housing, where we're using our net revenue. Some of them do operate on state funding, so which means it could come and go, as Gigi said. So unfortunately, we can't answer any questions about any other district or state.
Understand. Well, we'll do a last call for questions, guys. So we'll stay online for a couple more seconds. Oh, hello. I hear somebody.
Hi, lady. My name is Nadine. I do have a question.
Please.
I didn't want to interrupt you guys. So what advice would you give someone that is on, say, like you want to buy a house, you want to purchase a house, but you're single?
Not a problem.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm single, not a problem.
Okay.
On my third house, not a problem. And bought my first one single as well. So that's, no one's going to, application is going to be denied on the basis that you're single. They're just really going to be looking at your income, your debt, and that debt to income ratio as well.
Okay. What would you say would be a good debt to income ratio?
45%.
Oh. 40.
Yeah. Our max DTI is 45%.
Okay. Okay.
We
And
don't
Thank you
have a
very
front end
much.
ratio. We just have a back end DTI.
Got it. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Great question.
And I do see we have a couple questions in the chat. I also see Karen, she has her hand up. So Karen, if you want to ask your questions, and then we'll jump in the chat here.
Okay, thank you so much. So for the Virginia Mortgage Relief Program, can that only be used for your primary residence?
Yes.
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 Yeah.
And keep in mind too, as I mentioned, it's just not if they're behind on their mortgage, if they're behind on their condo fees, insurance. So, I mean, I talked to several people. They're like, I don't know if I would get approved or not. Call them. You just never know. Just call in. And I don't know if I mentioned one of our satellite offices that we don't administer it at Virginia Housing. One of the satellite offices that do administer it is actually located in Newport News.
Thank you, Karen, for your question. And then we do have a question in the chat. It reads, is there a time limit from when someone is approved to them closing?
Well, okay. I guess that's a question for me. We follow the same time limit as a lender, loan officer, a lender would follow with their program. Is when someone applies for a mortgage, they pull their credit, and I think that they go that credit is good for at least 60 days until they have to pull another credit. So once if they pull the credit, they go on, they do application, they go on a contract, then they have to close within a certain amount of time based on what's on that contract. So we follow at Virginia Housing. We don't originate the loans; our lenders originate the loans. So Tidewater Home Funding would originate that loan. So it's just like any other program. We follow the same guidelines, the same program guidelines, agency guidelines with FHA or conventional loans. So your lender would be able to take care of you. The greatest benefit about your buyer doing a Virginia housing loan is they're able to get up to 100% financing.
Thank you, Gigi.
You're welcome.
And I'm going to ask for some help, LaDonna. Can you please repeat the rental website address?
Okay, sure. So if you're a consumer and you're looking for the rental education information, you can really simply go to virginiahousing, .com. But if you have specific questions, that's to our website. But if you have specific questions that you might want about the accessibility grant or any of the other rental resources that I mentioned, you can email us as well at rentereducation@virginiahousing.com. So that's a general email box that I have about 4 or 5 staff members that, are monitoring that constantly, but feel free to, submit a email to that. And I see that you just put it in the chat box. So that's great as well. But a lot of information is right on our website as well. And again, that's virginiahousing.com.
Thank you, LaDonna. Oh, sorry, Gigi.
LaDonna, to add to that, and I know you're probably know for sure, I don't know, in reference to if they're a landlord, if they're a property manager, how would they, if they wanted to put their property on our website, what is the process?
The process really is to visit the Virginia Housing search site. Let me make sure I get that.
You're right. I think it's virginiahousingsearch.com.
I believe it's virginiahousingsearch.com, but let me make positively sure about that. virginiahousingsearch.com. Yes. Okay.
Perfect. And we do have a question from LaTanya. She is asking, will the information from today's meeting be shared via email? Yes, it will. We'll have the recording sent to everybody who registered for this event tonight. And I'm just keeping an eye out to see if there's any more questions popping up in the chat. So if you guys have any last lingering questions, please feel free to drop it in or to raise your hand as well. All right, well, I'm going to open the floor real quick to LaDonna and Gigi for any closing remarks before I go ahead and close out tonight's event.
Gigi, you want me to go first?
Yeah, go ahead, LaDonna.
Okay, thank you. I'm not sure what closing marks. Gigi and I, we do these sessions. It's a lot of information. So again, if it's renter, I say send us an email. We'd be more than happy to get you to the right um, department or division or what team it might be, or get you to that information. We have a lot of information on our website as well, but again, I understand sometimes it's that specific question that you're asking about, but you can definitely feel free to email us and we'll be more than happy to get you to where you need to go or you need to be.
Yes.
Gigi?
And I ditto everything that LaDonna said. And I just want to add is, I am the liaison for the homeownership department for the Hampton Roads area. So if you ever have any questions or, anything additional about our products, as LaDonna mentioned, our website is open to the public. So basically, a lot of this information that we have provided is on our website. But if you can't find it on our website, don't hesitate to reach out to myself.
Thank you, Gigi and LaDonna. And thank you again so much for taking the time out of your busy schedules to share your knowledge and give us these resources to act on. And thank you, everybody, so much for tuning. Yes, LaDonna?
I'm sorry, I didn't want to interrupt, but I just wanted to add one more thing because I understand we do have consumers as well as some of our industry professionals on the call. For those of you who are consumers, Gigi and I are big advocates of education. And I'm going to say the first place that you need to go to is register for one of the homebuyer education classes. There are many in the area. As I stated, there's some that's on this call right now that I know that give back to the community in offering the free, if we didn't say it, free homebuyer education class. And you'll get a wealth of information, get a lot of your questions answered, and help you to that path to homeownership as well.
Mhm.